This is Beck to 99, your Lord and sometimes personal 2K savior. So, I wanted to talk about the 2K27 sort of reveal presentation that happened not too long ago. For the most part, I just wanted to say compared to 2K's previous efforts or rollouts, I think that this presentation showed enough effort to be impressive even to, a veteran of the community like myself. They did a great job of convincing me in this presentation that they worked on this game a little harder than they did 2K26. Even with all the things that are going to be the same about this game in terms of the graphics, I heard one of the sort of the quintessential marketing speak lies that they tell. They just said there were 7,000 new animations, 7,000 new pro play animations. The year or so before, they said it was 9,000. Didn't see any of that. This year, they're saying there's 7,000. I wrote to Mike Wang on Twitter. I said, hey, listen, great job. Is there any way you could put out like on 2K's, one of 2K's platforms, a supercut video showing all 9,000 animations? And I would obviously, I didn't get a response from that. But if I did, or if they were willing, wouldn't we love to see? I'd watch a fucking 27-minute video of them showing me 7,000 new animations that so I could recognize the 7,000 things that are happening. Why not? You know the answer to that. So, the one drawback from this entire presentation for me was going back to having to select just a handful of badges. The premise behind this is that every person will your build to be a little different because you'll have badges at a different tier than Jimmy from Iowa that you never see and you don't know. But the idea is we have to believe in their track record showing or previous track record shows that some badges don't even fucking matter, right? So eventually, if every badge is not, balanced or triggers or activates or even works, we're all going to end up with the same badge spread anyway. And to be real, even if every badge works, we're going to end up with the same badge spread anyway because what are we going to want? Legend badges, especially for shooting. So how much different is this other guy's build from mine if we're both trying to shoot from limitless? If I'm trying to run my dead eye up, if I'm doing all these things, the badge spreads are going to be the same. But the only thing that this, badge system which they had in previous 2Ks, it introduces a little more FOMO, fear of missing out. So I don't know, obviously I don't know how the plus ones, plus twos are going to work, or the badge perks like we had for the last, year or two or whatever. How does that factor into whatever they're giving us now? So maybe the way that it's set up, my fear would be the way that it's set up is to incentivize more level skips, but I don't know how that system works fully. At the end of the day, I just hate the idea that I could be in a match and I need to pull off a shifty shot, but damn, I loaded in, you know, with the deep bomber and with something else and with something else, and I miss this shot or I miss a couple shots because of not my timing per se, but the badge loadout that I went into the match with. So, and then I guess for some people, they might say, "Yeah, no, but that adds a skill gap," and I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. I like having every goddamn badge that my player has access to." But I'm gonna, obviously the community's gonna adapt. It's the same thing with the meter dunking this year. Like I might have to make a sort of a my NBA, type save on my account just so I could go into the game and practice the meter dunking and and the contact dunking. Like I never really did contact dunks before. I'm more of a stick dunker, but I want to go practice it and just the idea like practicing where if I miss or don't make the dunk, I'm not giving myself cold zones or whatever, but underneath the rim. But that's neither here nor there. So this year I'm like my first build, I might not even have dunking on it because I'm like, fuck it. I'm just if that's the case, then I'm just pulling off layups, all year. But for the most part, it'll be interesting to see, how that mechanic works. I suppose with all this missing that people are going to be doing at the rim, and then you know, I don't know if shooting's going to be harder, but I'm just saying we're going to see more rebounding centers and power forwards this year. But maybe it'll have the other side where we see more shooters. I don't know. I like the fact that they added a co-ed option to the park. It's kind of like NBA Live had that since their last game, which was like NBA Live 19. So it was just an interesting sort of prolonged ramp up to get to this point for 2K, but it'll be interesting and for players, male or female, it'll be interesting to see, what kind of character that they pick. There's, without getting too deep, there's obviously some Caucasian people who play the game and they have African American or, Asian avatars. So then obviously that means there could be girls who, even with the option, they'll still make a boy basketball player. Or there might be guys who, for whatever reasons, they make girl characters. For myself, I can't see myself making a female character outside of content, but but it's just the options there for people to do it. And it's going to be, mildly interesting this year because I never really played the NBA Live 19 online too much. I played it like I made up a dude like before the servers went down. I made a dude and I was shooting in the my career mode, and then I went online and I tried to shoot like with no meter, and I missed like two shots, and I just said fuck it, you know, um, because I like to play with no meter, but and then I was like, what am I doing? I don't want to try to. I was like, I don't want to try to get amazing at NBA Live 19. So I let the people who can make the shots, whoever a part of the community, I just told myself, hey man, y'all can have it, man. Yeah, if y'all better than me at NBA Live 19, you got it. I'm gonna go back to 2K. Enjoy being the king or queens, over here, sort of thing. So speaking of that, the My Career Co-op uh, option sounds like a great idea. Sounds like an idea that I thought of already, on this channel. But the idea is, what's cool about it is you can even, I'm not even talking about it from your friends or your crewmates dropping into your My Career. That part is whatever. But I like the idea that now if you play My Career or if you want to play My Career, you can kind of have your own, not your own storyline because it follows the same sort of path, but the idea is you could have a Splash Brother if you wanted, or you could have an, whatever kind of other player archetype they give you for the mode. And then what's also cool is whatever team that you go to now is automatically at least the big three because you got yourself, this computer, fictional guy, and whoever is the other superstar that think that you want to play with when you go to a team. So say if you go to the Warriors right now, you're gonna have Curry. You could have the computer companion person be Clay, and you could easily be KD if that's something you wanted, or whatever other combinations of things that you would think of, the My Player team that you go to instantly is better because of your guy and the guy that you're bringing and whatever people are already there. So that's a cool addition that I might look into a little bit just to sort of work on whatever the we have to do for our build specializations to get to to get our little extra point and whatever else our badge things. Or I don't even know if that's still how it works, but so that part is going to be interesting. And for the most part, the floating or rotating, cities and not cities, but locations sound great. It'll be interesting to see how our options for customizing our pro, or not our program, but like our rec jerseys, because if maybe the courts will change, but the color scheme will stay the same. I think that's probably the simplest way to do it. And so that way we don't have to worry about like for each location having seven different shoes or seven different, apparel loadouts, I suppose. So I think that the companion app now is a good idea for some people. Obviously, 2K markets to us through the game with the city and all the other kind of commercial commercialized aspects of their marketing that they do where these brands and everything pay 2K to market to us. And now that they have this, they always kind of had this app, but now that they kind of beefed up the app, there's more incentive for people in the community to download it, and then there's more opportunity for 2K or Take Two Interactive to siphon some of our sort of our tracking data, our cookies, or the things that we do on the app, or maybe even they're listening to other things on our apps. So it could get kind of from sort of a corporate espionage sort of a standpoint. It's kind of ingenious getting their app to be more synonymous with more players from this player base, and whatever that kind of data collection that happens low key behind every app. 2K will have more incentive to do it, and then they can sell that information and make more money, right? So that's where we're going with that. So also, I feel like since they moved up the start date for early access, now I have a suspicion that the people who are at community day, they're gonna go earlier too, So it's the idea is like um, they always want to give them a head start. So we're gonna see like whenever that's gonna start, because I would have predicted that they would have started on the 26th if we got the 28th, but we'll see how that plays out. But for the most part, to sum it all up, I do think they did enough to justify, repackaging the same game. I feel more comfortable in the leap in this one than pre from 2K25 to 2K26. It's like, what did they really do? In this one, there's a lot of quality of life changes here that are enough to, like, on the surface, make you say, at least they tried. So that's it. Back to now.